we getting?
Hi, I'm Tom Kerr from the Buffalo Audubon Society. We're here at Science Lake in Allegheny State Park to do our Science Lake Pond program. So I just want to show everyone how we do this with our nets. The first thing we want to remember is we always need to think about the creatures we're collecting and that we want to put them back safely. We want to make sure that we don't harm them or hurt them. While we're doing this, we want to learn from them and put them back when we're done. So we have our nets, we have pans to put them in after we catch them. What we're going to do is we're just going to search through, we're going to scoop up anything we see, but we're going to pick up rocks and flip them over and look underneath for different things. So we have some caddisfly larvae here. So these are aquatic insects that make a gravel or stone case around their bodies, and they kind of just sit there and filter out whatever they catch.
I got a lot here.
So Charlie here has a bunch too on his rock.
I think that's it.
So we're going to collect some things and see what we find and go over them one by one after.
What did you catch, Charlie?
A ton of caddisfly larvae.
How do you know they're caddisfly larvae?
Because they look like tiny sticks that but they're rock hard.
So if we come along the shore and we just kind of scoop gently underneath the plants, we might catch some things. So here we have a dragonfly larva, and here we have a damselfly larva. So two cousins right here. So we're going to put this whole scoop in one of the pans and kind of let everything sort out and see what's living in here. We caught an eastern spotted newt. So they're really common here, and we find them swimming in shallow, slow water.
Make sure it doesn't escape. We should put them in our bin now.
So we'll put him in a bin to hang on to him and take a look at him later. Here we have a giant water bug.
Oh.
They can actually grow about 3 inches long, and this is one of the biggest things we'll find in here.
Really? Biggest things? Here. I can't get them in my hand. I got. See? Now you can get back in there, little buddy.
So what are you doing here, Jeremy?
I'm just staying on the island.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see anything cool?
No.
What do you think lives in the grass?
Bugs.
Bugs? What else?
Small things.
Small things? Do you think we'll find a water snake?
Water snake. I don't see any snakes in the water. This is awful.
It smells awful. It's skunk cabbage.
So stuff like to live in here, Dad?
Yep.
I never catch anything.
These animals don't like to be drifting free, so they like to hold on to something.
Oh, I caught something. I caught a minnow.
Right here.
Or a tadpole? Here, let me go put it in the bin.
Yeah, wait, keep.
What'd you catch, Charlie?
Nothing. He's a newt. He's right there. We caught some over there. And he's swimming. You see him? He's swimming right there.
It smells disgusting.
Oh my god. She picked up a ton of mud.
Looks like I got mud.
What was that?
I said, when are the water snakes coming? Water snakes? Hey, Jeremy. Want to catch a newt? Jeremy, want to catch a newt?
What did you get, Tom?
Let's see what we got. We've got a very large
Oh,
damselfly larva.
wow.
What I like to do is just get a big clump of sticks and mud and other things that came out in the net, and before I even look at it in the net, I just bring it over to a bin. And I just gently let it go into the bin.
Make my net tall.
See what swims out. So we got a small fish in there. There's probably a lot in here though. So we'll just let that settle out and see what we find.
Another caddisfly.
There's a mayfly here, a mayfly larva here. But at first it seems like there's nothing, and then the longer you let it go, here's a caddisfly. He crawled back into his little home there. As soon as we put him back in the water, he's going to swim out.
I'm gonna catch something.
Here's another one of those big damselflies.
Dun, dun.
So at first it seemed like there was nothing here, and you might have just dumped this all back saying, oh, there's nothing here. And you bring it over to a pan and just let it go, and you see how much is really in here. Now that caddisfly's walking around,
Oh, cool.
trying to grab onto something so he doesn't float away in the current that isn't here.
Oh, he's like green. Oh, cool. Look at him go.
So here we have a giant water bug, and this will actually grow to one of the biggest things in here. And they'll eat things from tadpoles to small fish. Some people call these toe biters. They will sting you or bite you if you grab onto them and you're not careful and you're rough with them, but this guy's pretty small, so we don't have anything to worry about. So it actually breathes through those two tubes at the end of its abdomen or its butt. So it'll sit at the surface of the water with those two tubes out so it can breathe. And then when it sees food or it gets disturbed, it'll swim down. So they're actually pretty good swimmers. So next here we have a dragonfly larva, and you don't really have to use too much of your imagination to imagine this growing up as a dragonfly. It looks pretty much like a dragonfly without wings right now. So the females lay the eggs in the water, they hatch, they live in the water for sometimes a few years, and then when they're ready to hatch into a dragonfly, they'll just climb out on a blade of grass or a rock or something and kind of just wait, and then the adult dragonfly will just emerge from inside this exoskeleton and pump up its wings and fly away. So these also eat pretty much anything they can get a hold of. They have a jaw that's kind of folded up underneath their mouth that kind of launches out and grabs onto its prey. So if you take a look, you can see its jaw folded up there underneath its mouth.
Oh, yeah.
So here we have a damselfly larva, and just like how dragonflies are bigger and more robust, and damselflies are kind of skinny and more fragile looking, the larvae are almost exactly the same. So when you find a damselfly larva, they have these three tail filaments here that are actually their gills that they use to breathe with. So this is one of the biggest damselfly larvae I've ever found.
Will their wings emerge the same as a dragonfly?
Yeah, so one day it'll just climb out onto a stick at the water's edge, and it'll dry out its skin, it'll peel out and fly away.
How long will it stay in that stage for?
These can stay for a couple of years. So none of these hatched this year out of their egg. These are all eggs that were laid last year that are gonna emerge from the water this year or in another year. So this one here is a lot harder to notice, but once you know what to look for, they're easy to find. So it looks like a couple sticks stuck together. But actually this is a caddisfly, and it's a little home that it built for itself. So it wove these sticks together into kind of a tube, and it carries this around on its back to help hide it and camouflage it, keep it safe from predators like fish, or dragonflies, or frogs. And if you leave them alone, they'll generally start walking around trying to find their way out of this tub we put them in. So I'm going to put him back down and we'll see if it starts to walk.
Looks like he wants to hide.
But we can see his head sticking out, and if I touch him, there he goes.
Oh, look at there he goes.
So this might be everyone's favorite creature here, the eastern spotted newt. And newts are a type of salamander that go through an extra stage in their life cycle. So they start off as an egg, they hatch out of the egg as a salamander larva, and you see them swimming around in water, breathing with gills.
I can get really fast.
When they come out on land, like a salamander, they're called a red eft, and you see them crawling around in the forest. They're bright orange. They're easy to spot. That bright orange is a warning that they're poisonous and they don't taste good. So when they're ready to go back to the pond, when they're adults, they grow a flat paddle-shaped tail, and they come back to the pond. They live the rest of their lives there, and they still breathe air. So we might see this one come up and take a gulp of air. So if you're ever handling an amphibian, it's really important that your hands are wet. So I'm going to pull him out here. And if you're handling them and they start to feel dry and sticky instead of wet and slimy, they're starting to feel pretty unhappy. So it's time to put them back in the water. So one thing we know from finding all these creatures is kind of like the general health of Science Lake and this creek that's going into it. If we came here and couldn't find anything, that would be a warning sign. The water isn't clean, doesn't have enough oxygen, it isn't fit for these animals to live in. So today we found quite a bit, so that's a good sign. But scientists will study aquatic insects as kind of a sign of overall ecosystem health. So Science Lake is doing pretty good today. So what's really important when we're done is we put everyone back where we found them, into the same pond, in the same part of the pond. So we're going to let all the things we found in the stream go here in the stream real gently. We're going to set it down and just dump it out as gently as we can. And then give it a good rinse to make sure there's nobody hanging on.
So we found the newts on this side where the water is more still. And so we're going to let the newts go into the area that we found them.
Around. I don't like this.
All right, is this where you found them, Charlie?
Yep.
All right, let them go gently. Give it a good swish. So thanks for joining us here at Science Lake and the virtual Allegheny Nature Pilgrimage. We hope to see you next year at the Allegheny Nature Pilgrimage again. You can visit us at Beaver Meadow in the Buffalo Audubon Society. You can check out our website at www.buffaloaudubon.org and come see us this summer at Beaver Meadow.
Say bye, everybody.
Bye.